So hello, welcome to the video and welcome to London Heathrow's Terminal 5 again. I've just flown in from Glasgow and I'm not flying on anywhere today. In fact, I'm actually going home. But as I flew up to Glasgow from Gatwick Airport, my car is parked over there. Now that might sound like a terrible piece of planning on my part, but I actually did it quite deliberately, as for a long time now I've wanted to make a video about how it's best to get between Heathrow and Gatwick airports. Now BA splits its operations across 3 airports in London: City, Heathrow and Gatwick. Now some destinations are only serviced from one of those airports. So if you buy a through ticket on BA that requires you to change airports, BA doesn't include a transfer in the ticket that you've bought. You're left to your own devices to make it happen. Now getting between London City and Heathrow is reasonably straightforward these days now the Elizabeth line is open. It's pretty unlikely you'd need to get between City and Gatwick, but if you do, that's not too tricky. But getting between Heathrow and Gatwick is a right pain on public transport. You have to go into the centre of London, there's probably 2 changes, it takes a while, it's quite expensive, and it's a right pain if you've got a lot of luggage. So the best way to get between those 2 airports is on a bus. And there are a couple of companies competing on that route. National Express is probably the most well known, but today I'm going to be going to Gatwick Airport on the Oxford Bus Company. Despite neither Heathrow nor Gatwick being anywhere near Oxford, the Oxford Bus Company does run a bus between those 2 airports. It costs £15 for a one-way ticket, and I'm now going to go and see what that experience is like. And if you'd like to come with me, stick around. Hi, I'm Matt and this is Matt's Planet. I aim to entertain, educate and inspire with my travel adventures from planning to execution. I'll show you how you can travel in style for a lot less than you'd think. So subscribe so you can come with me. The bus stops run parallel to Terminal 5, just past the lifts to the car parks, so it doesn't really matter which exit you use. I'd arrived domestically, so had been right at the north end of the terminal. The Oxford Bus Company uses stop number 10, close to the south end of the terminal, although be alert that they brand their services as the Airline, so you won't see the word Oxford anywhere on the information board, which is a little confusing. But the stop itself has some information boards and you quickly work out you're in the right place. Of course, I arrived at around 3:30, so had about 50 minutes to kill before the bus was scheduled to leave. Bus timings are never an exact science, so whilst they're unlikely to depart before the scheduled time, you should be prepared for them to depart late, which actually was the case for me that day. I'd chosen the Oxford people over the National Express option for a couple of reasons, although the frequency of service wasn't one of them. National Express has at least 2 departures per hour from T5 to Gatwick, and more if you're happy to shuffle over to the central bus terminal between terminals 2 and 3. But National Express is almost twice the cost of the Oxford Bus Company. This is their pricing for a next day departure. You can save a few quid by buying in advance, although the Oxford option will still be cheaper. Another reason for my choice was that a friend had heartily recommended them, plus I also really liked the Oxford Bus Company's website and app. It was very easy to buy a ticket through the app and then to activate it when the bus was arriving. And their app had a really handy map function through which you could see where your bus was, obviating the need to spend every minute waiting at the stop itself. It was a very hot day when I travelled, and the ability to retreat into the terminal to wait in the air conditioning was welcomed. The air quality in that covered area was not brilliant, it has to be said. The map on the app meant I could be in position to video the bus arriving, 25 minutes late sadly, meaning I ended up waiting there for well over an hour. I was not connecting to another flight that day, but I can imagine this sort of delay may create some anxiety amongst those who are. If you have a tight connection, then the premium you pay for the National Express option may be worthwhile, given their increased frequency. I'd only been away for a night, so only had a backpack, but luggage goes under the bus. Well, it's a coach really. And the front row was free, so I decided to grab it. The driver was very apologetic about being late, but this was 4 PM on a weekday afternoon, so it's not his fault if the M25 chooses not to behave. A safety message played and we were quickly onto the motorway. Seatbelt on! It would have been snug had I had a neighbour, but the seat was comfortable enough and the design of the cabin was really quite attractive. Each seat had an air vent too, which was handy on this hot day. The M25 did indeed jam up, but I've seen it much worse, and we made reasonably good time. This is another variable to any trip between these airports which you should probably take into account. Transferring at 5 PM on a Friday is likely to be a lot riskier than doing so at 7 AM on a Sunday. The bus did offer a toilet, which I chose not to visit but now realise I should have. The bus had come from Oxford, so there would probably have been some activity in the coach's smallest room, but my timestamps tell me we took 1 hour and 20 minutes to make the journey, which is a short enough period that for most people the availability of a loo should be a moot point. The trip was scheduled to take 1 hour and 5 minutes, which reduces to just under an hour for early morning departures. So the drive lost us another 15 minutes against the schedule, making us 40 minutes late overall. Which, given we travelled at about the busiest time of the week on Britain's busiest motorway, is really not that bad. The other alternative for a transfer is public transport, although as you have to go through London, it's going to take at least half an hour longer than this direct bus. Public transport is also not immune to disruption and delays, and I suppose by taking one bus between the airports versus 2 trains and a tube, the bus option is probably the lower risk. Just allow an ample buffer between flights to cover delays. The third option, of course, is to take a taxi, which will cost a packet, and whilst a taxi will move quicker when traffic is flowing, it's going to get stuck in traffic jams just the same as the bus will. And off into Gatwick's South Terminal. This was the only stop here, so passengers for the North Terminal needed to connect on the airport's train. The bus had stopped at the central bus station between Terminals 2 and 3 at Heathrow before collecting us at T5.
So here we are back at Gatwick. I really enjoyed that. It is a long time since I've been driven around the M25. I am always the driver, and I really enjoyed relaxing, sitting back and just looking out of the window while somebody else did all of the work. Good seat, good driver. We were late. I think it's difficult to mark the Oxford Bus Company down because of rush hour congestion on the M25. And would I travel with them again? Well, yes I would. Now, in my 53 years of travelling, I've never previously needed to get between Gatwick and Heathrow, and I only needed to do so today because I engineered the need for this video. But if I were ever in the position where I needed to do it, I would certainly look for the Oxford Bus Company to do it with next time round. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. And the reason I went to Glasgow was to have a meet up with my patrons, and we had a great old time. A link will be in the description below if you want to check it out and perhaps get invited to the next meet up we have, wherever that may be. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.